Somebody wants some attention. Can I have like 5 minutes? It's so pathetic. Okay. All right. Okay. There we go. I can pat and talk at the same time. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Writers Talking. I am Kelly, your hostess, and this is Scout, the neediest dog in the world. Yes. So I just thought I'd pop in and give a little update on what was going on and also an idea I had. So first, how are things going? Well, things are going well. I've actually feel like I've turned a corner with my writing as far as trying to get back into the groove of things. So, a little background: when I was working over in Halifax, I'm located in Nova Scotia, Canada, I had about sometimes 2.5 hours in the morning before work to write. I'd take the early bus over, go to the coffee shop, write until like about 15 minutes before I had to be to work, and then go down and do my thing. So then our offices moved over to the Dartmouth side, so I wasn't by a coffee shop. And then the pandemic happened, and then our company sold to another company, and I ended up starting 2 years ago working from home most days for the first of that 2 years, and then for the second year I was pretty much home, working from home every day because they sublet our office because all of the employees from my office had quit except for me. So what ended up happening was I would go down to the coffee shop that's near my home and write for I would get about an hour, and then I would have to come home and start work. But what I found was like an hour wasn't enough to allow me to get my head into the story. So I felt like I would just sort of start getting my writing groove in, and then it was, oh no, gotta go, time's up. Like it just wasn't enough time to really get a groove going and really start getting into the meat of the story. So this had been going on for the first book in the series, a Duke in Gentleman's Clothing. And normally prior to this, it would take me about, I'd say maybe 5 months to write a book. And that would, I think, often include the first draft and then the second draft after the edits. A Duke in Gentleman's Clothing took, I think, over a year to write. So it was a big difference in the amount of time, just because I couldn't seem to get my head into the story long enough to tell the story. And then the next day I would have to try to get back into it again. So I felt like I was, out of that hour, I felt like I was only getting maybe like 15, 20 minutes of actual good writing time before it was like time to turn around and go again. So it took, I think, over a year to get that book fine from the time I started writing it till it was released. I would say a year and a half, maybe. And so far, we're about a year in to book 2, which is Once Upon a Gentleman. So it was getting really frustrating because I'm used to writing fast, and I just felt like I was writing fast, but I wasn't having the time to get my head into the story. So I was going off on all these ridiculous tangents, which had nothing to do with the story at all. And uh, then I'd have to delete it and then backtrack. And then it was a mess. It was a mess. It really was. So once I left work back in mid March, my goal was to try to spend, I think at first I thought I'll give myself 2 hours. And I found very quickly that once I was down there and once I got past that 1 hour mark, I was really into the story. And my writing sessions are now about 3 hours. I get there at 7 and I'm usually done by about 10. So I'm making a lot more progress. I'm getting the feel for the story now. I have gone back and deleted probably about a total of, I'm going to say at least 5 chapters, because they just went off on tangents and it had nothing to do with anything. And I think I was just like throwing words down for the sake of getting word count in or feeling like I was doing something other than just staring at the page going, what's the story about? you know. So one of the things that I find definitely helped is, aside from now having so much more time to write, is this book here. If any of you guys haven't picked it up and you're writers, I would highly recommend it. It's got a lot of great information. Like, I was reading this yesterday afternoon and literally had about 4 different epiphanies on my story just from like 3 pages of it. And I was like scribbling like mad, trying to get like all of the thoughts that it was sort of like generating in my head, so that when I got to my writing session this morning, I could start incorporating those. And it just seemed to make everything so much cleaner and easier. So I think in the end, I'm probably going to, from what I have of my first draft so far, I think there's probably going to be about 5 chapters that get completely jettisoned because they've got nothing to do with anything. I'm not going to completely delete them because I think there's information I can pull from them that will make it better, like make this that I can use in the story now. But there's a whole other, like, I went off on tangents. I think I was just trying to find the story, and I just did not have enough time in 1 hour to really feel like I could get any traction there. So now that I have more time, I find that I am really starting to feel the story and I'm starting to feel who the characters are. So I have to have this to my editor by July 1st. So that gives me what? 7 weeks? Maybe? Suppose 7 weeks. So I am at the midpoint. I reached the midpoint today. And I now have 7 weeks to finish the second half, which I find out always, and this is probably fairly normal, I find the first half of the book much easier to write than the second half, because now I have to take everything that happened in the first half and build on that to create a really interesting second half where it doesn't all fall apart. I think what I might do is I might just kind of take you guys along with me and document that as I go. I may set this up as like a few different episodes as it goes along, just so it's not like a big chunk. But I thought that would also help me stay on track as well, and not, it's almost like if I'm reporting back to you, I'm going to be less likely to go off on tangents or catch myself sooner if I do. That's my plan. And I hope you guys come along for the ride. Let me know if you guys have, if you're writers, have you run into this situation before? What have you done to kind of work your way through it? I'd be really interested to hear that. And if you're readers, what are you reading? I went to my independent bookstore yesterday and picked up 3 new reads, which I completely forgot what they are now, but they're upstairs. That's the plan. So stay tuned for further updates.